We are on the fourth Mishnah. Kol hi, kahi darcha shel Torah. This is it. This is the road of Torah. You want to hear the path of Torah? Here we go. Pas b'melach tochel. Eat your bread with salt. Umayim b'masura tishte. And water, just drink a little bit. Stay a little thirsty. Val haaretz tishan. And you should sleep on the ground. Not on a big comfy bed and pillows and everything. V'chayei tsa'ar tiyah. And a life of tsar, of difficulty, of deprivation, of depriving yourself and avoiding pleasures, you should live. U'b'Torah ata amel. And in Torah, you should toil. Im ata oseh kain. And if you do it this way, ashrecha tov lecha. Praiseworthy, right? And everything is good with you. You're praiseworthy, and everything is good, right? Tov lecha, it's good with you. Ashrecha b'olam hazeh. Praiseworthy, in this world, people will praise you. V'tov lach l'olam haba. And it's good for you in the next world. So it's a very unusual Mishnah. Because it seems in many ways to contradict, everything else that we've talked about is how a person should live his life. So the first question is it recommending that you should eat salt, eat salty bread and drink just a little bit and be poor and sleep on the floor and wear horse shirts and, right? What do you think? We'll take a different approach even if we are on tape. How can it tell you? Is it recommending that this is an approach to life? So I think it's really focusing on what should be your priority and what you should be willing to do. Right? I don't think he's necessarily recommending that if you have $150 to go to Council's thrift shop and buy yourself a bed, and you have, the extra 40 square feet to put a bed, I don't think he's recommending that you're doing something that's wrong to actually sleep in a bed. Right? I don't think he's saying, sleep on the floor. I don't think he's necessarily telling you, do without. But if that's what it takes in order to be able to live a life of Torah, he says that's what it should be. Right? Your job is to amel b'Torah, is to toil in Torah. It says everybody invests their life in something. Every hour you have, you're spending on something. The question is, what do you spend it on? There's the famous story of, the Chafetz Chaim. He lives in a little shack and he's got, one bookshelf and one table and one chair and, one cot. And a wealthy guy from America comes to visit him and he's looking around at his place and says, it's like, where's your stuff? Right? How can you live with nothing? And the Chafetz Chaim looks at him and says, well, where's your stuff? And he's like, well, I'm just passing through, right? It's like a boat and a wagon to whatever. It's like, I'm just passing through. What do I need stuff for? It's just a burden to carry it. So the Chafetz Chaim says, what do I need stuff for? It's just a burden to carry it. Right? So we're not at that level. None of us, I don't think any of us are at the position that we're willing to say, every minute I have is going to be focused on. There was a point in the history of our people that no one worried about having more money than they needed to buy their food for that day. Right? You stories of Rebbeim, they would work to make sure they had enough money to get their food for that day, and then they'd go learn. And they'd worry about tomorrow. And it was considered almost, a lack of trust, to work on putting a second day's, income away. Right? As an aside, there's shuvas on whether or not you're allowed to buy life insurance. Right? Are you allowed to plan for the future? You're allowed to put away retirement savings. Right? If you put your kids in Jewish day school, you're not going to put away any retirement savings. So it's really kind of a moot point. In this era, it's a moot point because nobody with day school tuition is saving for retirement. But the question is this a prescription, a recommendation that says you have to live an ascetic life? I can't see how it can be. Because that's not what we're pushing people to be. Right? God says, if there's pleasures in life, you should take advantage of those pleasures in a holy way. But if the opportunity exists to eat a nice challah and sing and have a nice right? Shabbos chicken, you should have a nice Shabbos chicken and take pleasure in your world. But the question is that what you're investing your life in? How much of your life is focused on, I need a bigger house. Years ago when the world was doing great and business was booming, my wife and I looked at, a big property in Beverlywood. And we looked at the mortgage and she said, unless things go perfect every month for the next 30 years, this is a bad idea. And we decided not to do it. We stayed, modest and whatever. And in the end, you know what? It'd kill us. Like, you got to talk to guys, and I talked to a guy, you got a big nut, right? If you got a big nut, then your whole life is focused on, I got to make, a big check this month and a big check next month, which means I'm going to have to be, you talk to your kids about, what you want to do for a job. And my son wants to figure out, what can he do that's going to make enough of a living to be a good parnasa, but still leave him time to be with his kids, still leave him time to learn, still leave him time to live a life. There's people who's, they are working so hard to make the mortgage, to make the payments, to pay for the car, to pay for the dance class, and pay for this, and pay for... And that you become, we saw a mission in the second parak that says, the more stuff, the more worries. Right? The more you're trying to support a lifestyle. Right? I talked to an estate planner yesterday. We were doing about a concept for some of his clients. And he says, they may earn a lot, but they live a lot. He says they're not saving anything. There's no extra, right? Because you're earning a lot, you're living a big life. If you're living a big life, then you're focusing yourself on living that big life. If you've got to support, your season tickets and your car and your house and your country club membership, and you got to figure out how to pull down, 12, 15, 18,000 bucks a month, then you don't have time to focus on your kids or your wife, or values, or learning, or Torah, or Shir, or parent-teacher conferences, or you got nothing, right? So as you're starting out, you're trying to feel like, what am I? What's the nature of the career I want to have? Is really defined on the nature of the kind of life you want to have. So if you say my value is I need to have a giant house, then you're going to have to figure out how to work to get that giant house. I need to have a new car at least every 2 years. So now you got to figure out how you're going to support that, right? But if you look at it instead, say, I'm going to drive my kids to school every day. I'm going to be home Shabbos afternoon. I'm going to be home Friday afternoon. I'm going to be, whatever it is. You pick your stuff. Tie a hand behind your back and say, my life is, right? I eat dinner with my family. I don't travel that much. I drive my kids to school so I can talk to them. I help my kids with homework. I spend time with my wife. Okay, these are the parameters of my life. Now you figure out how to make your life fit inside that. All right? So if that means in order to have my life wrapped up in a Torah style of life, that means that I'm not going to have as much money. It's like I'm not going to have the big house in Valencia because I'm living in West LA, and right, Torah neighborhoods are all expensive, crammed into the city, and high crime, high crowd, right? You want a nice big giant house? Go move to Valencia. There's no Torah there, but it says I'll sacrifice that. Right? I am willing to be poor. I'm willing to sleep on the floor and have, not have as beautiful a house as my friend because I'm going to live in a Torah place. I'm willing to not have a fancy car, right? I talked to my brother, and it's like, all right, so his European vacation is my kid's day school tuition, right? The amount of money you put into tuition, and I can take my kids, we can spend the summer, you can spend the summer in Europe for what you pay on days, you can take every year and, right? But what's your value? Is your value that your kids should be taught values, or is your value that your kids should have luxury? What do you want? You got to choose. So I think the Mishnah isn't saying that you have to be poor. What it says, you have to be willing to set the value of Torah first. And it doesn't just mean learning. It means living a Torah life, right? Omel, toiling in Torah. That's what I want to do. Now, whatever, everything else is going to fall where it's going to fall. Right? Whether I've got a fancy bed and a big house and good food or not, I'm living a Torah life. And if you do that, it says if people see that you're living your ideals, it says you're praiseworthy. Right? You really are the kind of person that, good for you. And in the end, it'll be good for you in Olam Haba. Because what you're focused on is your soul, not just your luxuries. So that's our brisa.